Hello, hi, hello. Hi, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so it has been a long weekend. It's been busy. I actually just finished watching the new episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so normally on my channel, I would get ready and talk to you about the episode. But I think in today's episode, I already have my makeup on. I've been out and about all day. Let's just enjoy a cocktail together and let's talk about this episode. For those of you that are new to my channel, hi, hello. My name is Katey Unfiltered and welcome to my channel. On my channel, I like to talk about TV, makeup, whatever it is that captures my interest. I'm always going to give you my unfiltered take. That's what we do here on this channel. And right now I am watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and each week I'm coming on my channel every Monday and talking to you about what I thought about the new episode. So if that sounds like your thing, stick around. It's a lot of fun. It's hard to really know where to start because I didn't feel like this episode actually had a ton that I really wanted to talk about. It was a good episode and it moved the plot forward, but I didn't feel like it was one of those episodes that I walked away from it being like, so excited. And if you have been watching my videos, you know that there were actually a few things in this episode that I personally was very excited by. There were two things that I've been asking for the last 2 weeks, which is number one, wanting to see Sharon Carter, and number two, wanting to see Zemo, and I got both in this episode and they did not disappoint. It was very, very exciting to see them introduced into the story, and definitely in a way that I really didn't expect at all. But there isn't a ton to this episode that I'm like so surprised or wow, or just kind of looking at this plot and it doesn't have all of my conspiracy theory juices flowing. So let's just talk about the episode. We didn't get a ton of John Walker and Battlestar, which I'm fine with because anytime he's on screen, I just get so annoyed and riled up. That guy is so punchable to me. This episode really focused on Bucky and Sam breaking Zemo out of prison and then going to Madripoor, which if you're a fan of the comics, it was pretty cool to see. That is something that Marvel hasn't really been able to play with as much because it was a part of the X-Men universe, and since they acquired Fox, they can now talk about Madripoor. It was really cool to see Madripoor called out and Madripoor being a central location to this episode. But the episode opens with Sam and Bucky breaking Zemo out of prison. Very classic jailbreak scene. It was really, really cool to see Zemo finally break out of prison and see the dynamic that he introduced into Sam and Bucky's interactions, and seeing Sam and Bucky, still kind of going at each other's throats a little bit, but in a way that is honestly pretty harmless. And then you see Zemo introduced, and Zemo finally getting his jacket and his mask was just so exciting. Sorry, I know I'm going off on 18,000 rants here, but there were a lot of things that for someone that had been into the comics and has since also continued to read the comics, it was just really cool to see Madripoor show up and Zemo donning his classic comic book costume. Things like that were pretty exciting. Going to the Brass Monkey. There were just a lot of things in this episode that were really for the comic book fan, and even if you're not a fan of the comic books, that you could still really appreciate everything that the episode had to offer. It was a good episode, but I feel like it could really be summarized by just saying this is the episode where they break Zemo out of prison and they go to Madripoor. That's really, that's a pretty good description of the episode, right? So they free Zemo from prison, they go to Madripoor, and they go to Madripoor because there might be someone there that can help them track the super soldier serum. That's kind of the basis of the entire episode. And so they go there, they go to the Brass Monkey, which is a bar at Madripoor, and Bucky is basically impersonating himself. He's pretending that he's still the Winter Soldier under Zemo's control. And Sam is imitating the Smiling Tiger, which is actually a character from the comics. Sam is dressed up to look as though he is this character, and they go into this bar with Zemo, and they're looking for someone called Selby, who hopefully knows where the serum is. They go and they meet Selby, and of course, the interaction ends up really revealing who they are because Sam gets a phone call from his sister while he's there, and somehow someone shoots Selby and kills her. We don't know who that is, but it turns out that Sharon is there to save them and gets them out alive and then takes them back to her apartment, because this entire time she's actually been on the run. She's been in hiding in Madripoor and has been an art dealer, essentially, just like trading in black market art, and has amassed a pretty significant amount of wealth, and is also like running, I think she's like running a nightclub out of her apartment somehow. It wasn't like entirely clear, but she's running a nightclub, and she's also an art dealer, and she's been on the run, and now she's also really, really cynical. And that was actually really kind of a sad, unexpected turn that I didn't really see for her. She was someone that I really felt like was going to be like down for the cause, and honestly I kind of get where she was coming from, because she's really kind of cynical and upset because she became an enemy of the state because she stole back Captain America's shield and Sam's Falcon wings, you know, from the government when they decided that they didn't want to sign the Sokovia Accords. They went on the run, and she stole the equipment back from them in Captain America Civil War. And then we don't really know what happened to her after that. Even though Bucky was able to get pardoned and, you know, was able to help the Avengers and everything, like, no one actually, like, called her, I guess. Like, no one looked after Sharon, and Sharon was effectively on the run and has been in Madripoor just kind of, like, fending for herself and has not been able to return to America. And I kind of get it. And it's kind of sucks that nobody at any point was like, hey, has anyone seen Sharon? Maybe we should go find her. And like, maybe we should go make sure she's okay because she did this thing for us and put herself at risk. And like for years and years and years, like no one did that. And it sucks. And I kind of get why she's so bitter. But at the same time, like you'd think even Steve at one point would have been like, you know, I should go find my girlfriend at some point, right? Like you'd think he would have done that. And also it doesn't entirely make sense, because if he went back in time, found Peggy, lived his life with Peggy, he also would have probably run into Sharon as a little girl and like been involved in her life somehow in this new timeline. So is that like, it's the same timeline, because he shows back up later on and gives Sam the shield. And I'm just like, I think I just figured out like a plot hole almost, or like, was Sharon just like gonna go off and do her own thing, and Steve never really said anything to her because he didn't want to wreck the timelines? Is that it? But like, still, you would have thought that someone would have been looking out for her, and someone would have raised their hand and been like, hey, maybe we should go like help her out and make sure she's okay, since she definitely broke the law for all of us. Just a thought. Sharon shows up, she saves their asses, she takes them back to her apartment, and she is trying to track down the power brokers so that they can figure out where this doctor is that's producing the super soldier serum. They find him, they go, they basically interrogate him in he's in like a container, like he's on a ship in a container, like one of those big like shipping containers, and he's making super soldier serum, and he reveals that Carly Morgenthau stole all the serum that he made, and so he's trying to make more for the power broker. The power broker's pissed that she stole it. And then Zemo, having a lot of conviction about there not being any more super soldier serum, he shoots and kills the doctor so that he can't make any more of the super soldier serum, which I honestly like, I kind of get. And what did you expect? Like, he was very clear about his intentions. He does not like super soldier serum. He doesn't like super soldiers. He wants to make sure that that doesn't happen. So, like, really, like, that was kind of just irresponsible of Bucky and Sam to, like, bring him along. He shoots and kills the doctor, which means that they kind of have a dead end. And meanwhile, while they're talking to the doctor inside this shipping container, Sharon is outside busting, like, 10 bad guys' asses and just beating them and making sure that they stay protected. And she's just all by herself with like a pipe as a weapon, and is like, no one's getting in there and getting my guys, which is super badass. And even though she has so many problems with America at this point and so many problems with superheroes, she's still willing to help them, which, I mean, tells me that there's still hope for her coming back and not being so jaded. We did also get confirmation that the doctor was able to recreate the super soldier serum from Isaiah Bradley's blood. This does kind of kill my theory that maybe we might see like Howard Stark, for example, show up. I was really hoping that maybe Howard Stark would be involved in this story and would provide more of a redemptive arc for Bucky. He's the one that killed Howard and his wife. He killed Tony Stark's parents as the Winter Soldier, and Bucky is really on this redemptive arc. So I thought, hey, maybe we'll be able to give him a little bit of redemption if they are somehow involved in this story. And that could still happen, and I'm really hoping that it does happen, but because the Doctor did talk about how they used Isaiah Bradley's blood sample and how he was involved, and he didn't really talk about anyone else being involved, I'm not sure we're actually going to go down that rabbit hole, and maybe it's for the best if the show only has 3 more episodes, but I was just kind of hoping. And the show is doing a really good job of attaching the viewer to Bucky's experience and to the redemption that he craves, even more so than attaching the viewer to what Sam is going through and to Sam's experience. I feel like we could probably be doing a better job there. I'm feeling much more connected to Bucky and his story and just the redemption that he's working for rather than being attached to Sam. And I think that there's some really important stories that could be told through Sam, and we're not taking it there right now, which is honestly kind of a loss. It's a missed opportunity. Let's talk about our villain though, which really isn't Zemo at this point. Like, Zemo is actually not the villain. Zemo is basically like a tangential good guy, or just he's really more of a mechanic of the story rather than being our villain at this point, which I kind of like, because Daniel Bruhl's portrayal of Zemo is so perfect and entertaining. He's just such a breath of fresh air, and I'm really enjoying him on the show. But effectively, our villain is still Carly Morgenthau. She really wasn't portrayed as this really villainous villain. And what I mean by that is she's not someone that you can automatically root against. She's a bad guy that you can root for in some ways. And you know that I love those types of villains, but they were writing her almost to the point where you were rooting for her and you weren't really sure why Bucky and Sam were working against her, where she's just trying to help refugees and bringing them vaccines and bringing them food, and is just trying to help the homeless, and she's portrayed as this Robin Hood character. And so it was getting a little confusing as to why we should actually be rooting against her. So I was getting a little concerned about that, but by the end of this episode, the show has definitely confirmed she's a villain, and she's getting a little ahead of herself because she's going and she's stealing supplies from people, but then she's bombing the buildings and she's killing people in the process in order to get this, killing people unnecessarily, and she's clearly just getting a little more anarchical. She's becoming more of an anarchist, more than just her Robin Hood ways, and she's actually committing violence that isn't even necessary at this point. So she officially is not someone that you totally want to root for or totally understand. She's getting ahead of herself, which I really appreciated that they added in that moment, because she was becoming almost a little too likable by the end of this episode. So I'm glad that they added that in. And then the episode ends with Bucky and Sam arriving after this explosion that Carly had set off. I believe they're in Latvia. So they go and show up. They're trying to track her. They have Zemo with them, and Bucky breaks away and he's like, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. And you're like, where are you going, boo? Where are you going? Well, it turns out where he was going, he found little, marbles. They're silver metal marbles on the ground, and he finds a couple of them and just starts saying hey, where are you at? Come on out. And it turns out that he is being tracked by someone from Wakanda, one of the female soldiers that is a part of the Kingsguard, someone named Ayo, and we saw her in Captain America Winter Soldier as well, and she is tracking him because she wants Zemo. They want justice for their fallen king, King T'Chaka, because Zemo was responsible for his death, and that was him kicking off the Civil War. And that's kind of where the episode ends, and I'm really excited to see Wakanda getting involved in this story. We don't have a lot of background as to what happened with Bucky while he was in Wakanda, and I'm actually curious and would be very excited to see a little flashback. What was he doing there? What was he up to? What was that time like? What did he learn? What was he doing? I would really like to see that. I don't know that we're going to, because we only have 3 episodes to really wrap this story up. So I think we might just have to forego that for another day. But I would really like to see just a little flashback to Wakanda, and it is exciting to continue to bring the worlds of Marvel together. So really excited about next week's episode. This episode was a good one. It wasn't my favorite. Like I said, not a lot happened. It wasn't this big dramatic episode, but it was really cool to see Sharon back in action. And Zemo, of course, is just such a fun villain for them to play with. And he really plays so well off of Sam and Bucky that I am just very excited for these next 3 episodes. And with that, guys, that is my reaction to this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave it a like and leave me a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. We are 110 subscribers strong on this channel, which is so fun. And each week I come back here and I continue to share my thoughts about each episode, and will continue to do so as new Marvel shows come out. So if that sounds like your thing, please come back. Let's hang out, let's have a cocktail, and let's talk about TV. Or if you're just wanting to come back to my channel for more videos, I am back here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So I hope to see you back here soon. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making them. It means so much to me that you're here. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!